Humanity has been puzzled by the difficult and elusive task of comprehending God for thousands of years. While different religious and philosophical traditions offer their own perspectives, the essence of God frequently remains enigmatic and beyond human comprehension. Many different cultures and belief systems have attempted to wrestle with the concept of God. We will examine the notion that understanding God necessitates an internal, subjective experience as opposed to an external observation in this investigation. We'll talk about how the ego can cloud our perception of God and result in anthropomorphized representations of the divine. The idea of God as an ever-present essence that is closely linked to our own consciousness will also be discussed. The famous assertion made by the Hermeticism-inspired Kabbalion philosophy is that the all is mind, the universe is mental. This statement suggests that the universe is a mental creation of the infinite mind, also known as God, rather than a physical or objective reality. This viewpoint holds that the universe is limited to existing inside the all's mind, and that the universe does not exist outside of this divine consciousness. This idea suggests that the world is a manifestation of divine consciousness rather than the traditional view of it as a tangible, external existence. The claim that God's essence is beyond human comprehension is one of the main obstacles to understanding God. Because of its limitations, the human mind frequently finds it difficult to comprehend God's infinite and limitless nature. This has given rise to the scientific quest for an understanding of God, a quest that may prove futile because of the fundamental differences between the infinite divine reality and the limited human intellect. In contrast to representations of God as a powerful judgmental being seated on a heavenly throne, or as a person with human-like traits, many spiritual teachings stress that God is not any of these things. Rather, God is defined as an experience, one that can only be fully comprehended by means of an individual's inner realization. As an essential component of human consciousness, the ego is vital to our understanding of and approach to the idea of God. The ego personifies God and attributes human characteristics to it, thereby establishing a gulf between the individual and the divine. It has been noted that many religious and cultural mythologies have a propensity to anthropomorphize God. The ego's attempt to use the framework of human limitations to make the incomprehensible essence of God understandable is what shapes our understanding of God. Because of this, the image of God frequently includes egoic qualities like feelings, desires, and the ability to pass judgment. This viewpoint was best expressed by well-known spiritual teacher Joseph Murphy, who said that God is an experience rather than a person, object, or force. One must move from an external observation to an internal experiential relationship in order to fully understand God. The understanding that everything is interrelated and essentially made of energy is crucial for understanding God. The core of God is contained in this vital energy. But people frequently approach this profound interconnectedness with an attempt to analyze and comprehend it using reason and observation. Sometimes the fundamental truth that we are the same as the phenomena we are trying to understand is obscured by this analytical approach. There is an innate connection between creation and observation. In the end, we discover through observation what we seek. This idea is demonstrated in the field of scientific exploration in the effort to comprehend natural phenomena. But it's crucial to keep in mind that the reality we construct is shaped by our presumptions and prevailing interests. Our thoughts and feelings give rise to new realities every moment. When the mind is clear of distractions and at peace, the presence of God is more readily perceived. One can recognize God's immanence when they are totally in the present moment. God's joy corresponds with a person's happiness, and God's delight reflects a person's contentment. But it's important to recognize the difference between the transient, ego-driven joys and the deep joy of encountering God. To truly experience God, one must rise above the delusion of separation. Although God is ever present, this experience can be distorted or reshaped by the ego's belief in division. This is not to say that the ego is intrinsically bad. On the contrary, it is what propels potential and creativity. Instead of trying to get rid of the ego, the idea is to accept it in a healthy way and understand that it is only a small portion of who they are. The first step to meeting God in one's life is learning to distinguish between the ego and the true self. This differentiation opens the door to a deeper comprehension. Aligning one's actions with God's intentions for life is the goal, not instant transcendence or isolation. The seeking of God, a compelling conundrum. Even after centuries of investigation and reflection, the pursuit of God frequently results in a paradox. It may worsen confusion rather than bring about clarity. One recurring theme is the blatantly egoistic tone present in all depictions of God. God descriptions often sound human, as though the ego is trying to use its own constrained framework to rationalize something that is intrinsically incomprehensible. This insight shows how difficult it is for the ego to understand the divine and raises the possibility that seeking God outwardly will always prove to be unachievable. However, there is an intrinsic attraction to this endeavor that draws people into the fields of philosophy and spirituality. Spiritual teachers like Neville Goddard have offered several viewpoints on seeking God. Inner experience. Instead of depending solely on outside observations, seek God via your own inner experiences. These encounters could be flashes of sudden inspiration, deep insight, or a spiritual awakening that makes the divine present. Realization of becoming. Recognize that unity with the essence of your desired outcome is the prerequisite for true understanding. This entails losing oneself in the experience of God and sensing his or her surrounds. Visualization and emotion. Use your imagination to conjure up situations where you sense God's presence. You can strengthen your relationship with God by connecting these situations to real feelings. Subconscious alignment. Instill in your subconscious the notion of God's existence. You are inviting this belief's manifestation into your everyday reality when you act in this way. Seeking God is a fulfilling and personal journey. It is about enhancing life's experiences with a greater awareness of the divine, not about renunciating the material world or the quest of knowledge. You can appreciate the world's beauty and maintain God's constant presence by occasionally calming your mind and living in the now. In summary, it is a profound and frequently confusing journey to understand God. Since God is an infinite and limitless essence, it is impossible to fully understand. Due to its limitations, the ego frequently tries to rationalize the divine by giving God human characteristics. This can result in anthropomorphic representations of the divine and a perplexed feeling when looking for God outside of oneself. One needs to move from an external search to an internal, experiential relationship in order to fully understand the essence of God. On this path, it is essential to understand the role of the ego and distinguish it from the authentic self. It is possible to enjoy the personal and rewarding journey of seeking God with wonder and curiosity. In the end, experiencing God's presence within oneself during times of stillness and presence is what it means to find God outside of oneself. The profound truth to realize is that God is here, and that is, I am.